Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows, serving all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up online, eastcoastroofing.com. Might go with you till 6 o'clock tonight. Tomorrow night is Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals, Tampa and Colorado. The NBA Finals are back on Thursday, and then on Saturday it's Game 2 of the NHL. Sunday would be Game 7, so there's your update on the NHL Stanley Cup. We've got to that point, and of course we are already in the NBA Finals. Adam Caplan is here from InsideTheBirds.com and the Inside the Birds podcast. We take a look at some of the things going on this offseason as we get ready for the start of training camp on July the 26th, Adam. And why are the Eagles, do we think, getting so much respect from the odds makers here? It looks like they are kind of a little bit of a darling out there.
Yeah, Mike, good to be with you. So, we have OTAs done. I'm just starting to look at this kind of stuff because I look at some of the odds. It's really interesting how Las Vegas and the odds makers and the books look at all 32 NFL teams and individually about how they think they're going to do. And I went through the odds last week. First of all, if you just started with the projected wins, before the draft, the Eagles were only at 8.5. Well, we know they had 9 last year. We know the roster's better. So if you jumped on that at over 8.5, you would have to feel pretty good about it. Now, they've jumped a full game after the draft. They're 9.5 is their over-under. What I also find interesting is the other odds on the win total is 10-plus wins. They're just plus 100. You would think, being that they weren't really respecting the Eagles before that, it would actually be like plus 150, plus 200, but they're only plus 100. In fact, in the plus category for the plus 10 wins, they're the first team. So they obviously like the Eagles much more. The addition of A.J. Brown, the good draft that they've had, at least on paper. They obviously think a lot of them. And to make the playoffs, just to make the playoffs, whether it's a wild card division, we certainly will get into that, they have the same odds as the Chargers, minus 155. So Las Vegas, Mike, clearly thinks that there'll be a playoff team, whether it's 9 or 10 wins. They think at least there'll be a wild card again.
On the flip side, obviously, Dallas is the team that won the division. Are they getting too much respect?
Yeah. I happen to look at a lot of books, and every book that I looked at thinks that Dallas is the clear favorite, that they will win the division. And when you look at Dallas, first of all, let's look at the Dallas odds. And I would have to say, if you looked at the 4 teams, they clearly think it's Dallas. Every book that I looked at has the Dallas 1, Eagles 2. Whereas the Eagles, to make the playoffs, are plus 210. Actually, no, I'm sorry. To get in the playoffs, it's minus 155, which is the Chargers. Now, to win the East, the Eagles are plus 210. The Cowboys to make the playoffs, this is how much they think the Cowboys are to make the playoffs, minus 310. So they obviously think they're a much bigger lock than the Eagles are, who are at minus 155. The Cowboys just to make the playoffs are at minus 310, which tells you that they should make it easily. Now, 10-plus wins are minus 240. Now, to win the East, where the Eagles are plus 210, Dallas is only plus 115. So they clearly think Dallas will win the NFC East. Well, Mike, the last time a back-to-back winner in the NFC East was the Eagles when they won 4 in a row, 01 through 04, 4 in a row, where they were back-to-back-to-back-to-back winners.
Wow.
So I just don't understand how they're not looking at it. I understand that, look, those are different teams. I get that. But there's no division like this NFC East. Nobody seems to want to win it. We laugh. We've called the NFC least year after year. But you just matched up rosters, Mike. The Eagles match up very well to the Cowboys in most positions other than running back and particularly quarterback. The Eagles can match up them now at wide receiver. Clearly they're better on the offensive line. Cowboys have issues on their offensive line. They also lost some depth. The Cowboys now can be matched up a little bit by the Eagles at linebacker because the Eagles have better talent. Eagles D-line is better than Dallas's. Secondary, the Eagles can hang in it some ways, and Trayvon Diggs, for 3 picks as he's gotten picked on a lot. He's not that good he's not as good as his numbers would suggest. So This NFC East, Mike, is going to be fascinating between the Eagles and Cowboys this season.
Yeah, obviously, it seems that they're the two favorites up the top. Washington and New York seem to be a step below. So you got Dallas and Philly. Let's take a look at some of the player options here. And Jalen Hurts is going to be a guy that we're all going to have our eyes on. Most passing yards in the regular season. This one, he seems to be a long shot.
This one's kind of funny, to be honest with you. So for regular season props on the Eagles players, we'll get started with Hurts. So most passing yards in a regular season. So Hurts is plus 4,000 to lead the NFL in passing yards. We know last season they became a running team because they asked Hurts to pass the ball way too much for the first 6 games, about 34.5 times per game. This season, to lead the NFL in passing yards, ironically, who does he have the same odds as? Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz plus 4,000. Trey Lance, right now, the Niners have to figure out who their starting quarterback is going to be. But Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo have the same odds at plus 4,000. The top odds, these are the guys that are most likely to lead the NFL in passing yards. They all 4 quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert are plus 800. I'm a little bit surprised at Justin Herbert. I wouldn't. Now, see, here's the funny thing, though. I don't think Mahomes is going to be up there in passing yards without Tyreek Hill. I don't think they're going to. They don't have. No, you can't replace him, Mike. I think his passing yards are actually going to be down a little bit. If you notice, the last quarter or so of the season, his passing yardage was down. They became more. Not that they'll ever be a running team, but teams started figuring him out a little bit. And without Tyreek Hill, it will not be as easy for him in the passing game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm interested to see where A.J. Brown was. And, we were looking at Pro Football Focus did their rankings. They had the receivers, the Eagles receiving core, that includes tight ends, ranked number 4 in the entire league. I said, man, they had to be in the bottom 4 last year to go all the way up to number 4. That really shows you what they think of A.J. Brown.
Mike, prior to the 2020 draft, 2 things. We had said how slow the Eagles' offense was. Our buddy Greg Cosell, who's even does shows with us, and we're going to be doing some more work with Greg in July. Greg said the Eagles' 2019 team of the 32 teams was the slowest team on tape. Think about that, how slow they were. Okay, when Cosell says it, you can mark that down. It's true. And now you add Devonta Smith last year, who could run. Remember, they'll expand his role in the pass game. Quez Watkins, who can fly. Dallas Goedert is a vertical tight end down the seam. A.J. Brown over the middle will be, he'll make plays after the catch in this offense. So they have playmakers here. Now, when you look at A.J. Brown's props, this is from FanDuel, he's plus 2,500 for the most receiving yards in the regular season. Same as Mark Andrews at tight end. Mark Andrews is one of the best tight ends in football. Now, this one kills me. This one is ridiculous. How could they have it the same as DeAndre Hopkins, who's suspended for 6 games?
Right.
It's ridiculous. Now, I get it. A.J. Brown has an injury history. Maybe they're putting in there 2 or 3 games that he's going to miss, but it's absurd. And Deontay Johnson, I would have Johnson over Hopkins and Andrews and Brown for receiving yards. I get it. Ben Roethlisberger isn't there. That was his guy. But they're still going to throw the ball a lot. Now, the top odds at receiver are Justin Jefferson, would be Eagle, and Cooper Kupp at plus 900. Had to throw that in there, but plus 900. Now, they clearly believe that Cooper Kupp, one of the best seasons in NFL history at receiver, were able to build that in. So that's plus 900. So you're not getting a bargain there. But Justin Jefferson to lead it is interesting. And again, he's got the same odds as Kupp.
I wonder if they anticipate Smith and Brown not canceling each other out, but taking yards away from each other.
This is interesting. This is interesting. I looked at, they've got him, and we'll get to the fantasy projections, which is interesting for average draft position in a second, which I love looking at this time of year. They have him as a middle of the road. Yes, as you said, and I'm looking at it now. They clearly do not think he'll be as good, because now you're right. So the way that the pass target tree for the Eagles should go: A.J. Brown 1, Smith 2, Goddard 3, and Quez Watkins 4. And Watkins is going to be used occasionally. He's just going to be used mostly on deeper routes. He's the one guy who could absolutely fly, and he gives him that option because Brown and Goddard are intermediate, Mike. And then you've got Smith who could do everything, a little bit long if you want, intermediate and short. And Jalen Reagor's still on the team, of course, but we don't see him getting the ball very much if he's on the team.
Right. Now, you mentioned the fantasy projections, which gives you an indication what the public thinks about the Eagles' skill position players. What sticks out here?
This is interesting. Now, understand, when we talk about Jalen Hurts, he's going way earlier than last year. You could get him a 10th or 11th round. He is going in drafts through the first week of June, late 6th, early 7th round, around 72. Why is he going that early? Because of his running. Running quarterbacks, I mean, I played fantasy for over 30 years. Steve Young, Donovan McNabb, obviously Michael Vick. The list goes on and on and on. Running quarterbacks have said, Josh Allen is obviously the best dual threat quarterback in many years at quarterback. Guys who could run at the quarterback position because they add rushing yardage and potentially rushing touchdowns. They add so much value. Plus, now, when you add A.J. Brown and no Zach Ertz to start the season, which Goddard had to deal with till the trade deadline in late October last year, they have so many. They just have a good pass target group. So yeah, I get it. I don't want to say he's overvalued. I don't like taking Mike. I don't know about you, but I don't like drafting quarterbacks early. But if that to me is kind of and this is, by the way, in 12-team leagues. I do like Hurts. I think it's a fair value, not a great value, but a fair value, late 6th, early 7th.
Yeah, then I think Sanders is very interesting because this offense presumably has more weapons, but are they still going to be a run-first team?
Mm-hmm. No, they won't. That won't happen. And number one. Number two, I think fantasy GMs, they've had it with Miles Sanders. Let's call it like it is.
Yeah.
He's going late 7th, early 8th round. I mean, this guy 2 years ago was in the 3rd round, sometimes in the 2nd round. People have had enough of Miles Sanders because he didn't even score a touchdown, Mike, last season. I mean, think about that. And we have an interesting nugget on Kenny Gainwell if you listened to our show yesterday, which is on all of our platforms. And I just think Miles Sanders, who's on the final year of his rookie deal, he's got to show us something this year. To me, you draft him as a backup or your flex option until otherwise. I get it. The one thing in fantasy, Mike, is if you continue to disappoint, your average draft position will be reflected in it, and that's a great example right there, late 7th, early 8th for Miles Sanders.
All right, and then you got A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, the two wide receivers. Are they going near each other? Are they separated? What's going on with those two?
Oh, big separation, Mike. Wow, this is interesting. So if without looking at it, I was going to guess 4th round. He's going mid-3rd, A.J. Brown is. Around number 29, and that's about mid-3rd. Actually, you could say in the upper half, within the upper half of the 3rd round, and that's strictly because he's a big name. He's in a much better passing offense because, in Tennessee, they hide the quarterback. They don't let him throw. I get it. What they did after 6 weeks last year, they took the air out of the football. That's not going to happen this season. Trust me on that. It will never sit well with this ownership and this general manager. They didn't spend all this money on A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert to hide the quarterback here. They're going to throw the football. But this shocked me with Devonta Smith. I would have thought 6th round, Mike. Early 8th round, around number 87, Mike. What a value Devonta Smith is. It has to do with A.J. Brown, clearly. I get it. To me, without A.J. Brown, he's a 5th or 6th round pick. Now, remember, we're talking first week of June. By the time early August runs around, I guarantee he'll move up to the 6th round. You watch.
Yeah, we'll have to keep our eye on that because right behind him is his teammate Dallas Goedert. So people assume that Smith and Goddard are going to be somewhat equals.
Yeah, so Goddard is going mid-8th round around 91 or 92. And, see, he's a flash player. We know about the injury history, and he hasn't been as consistent as he would like. But remember now, no Zach Ertz. That does mean a lot. There'll be some weeks where Goddard, you saw the Jets game, there'll be some games where he dominates because A.J. Brown can't do everything, but it's going to start with Brown. Some weeks Goddard will be the second option, Smith might be the third, vice versa. See, I would go Brown 1, Smith 2, and Dallas Goedert 2A. They're going to be, because Goddard is a physical guy and he's a pretty good athlete for the position, and because he blocks so well, he's going to be a 3-down tight end. He's going to be, this is his breakout season. He's never quite been able to put it together. This is the season that I want him. I've kind of drafted him, and he's been disappointing. I just need more consistency from him. The hands are inconsistent. They're not as good as they should be.
Yeah.
But he's a pretty good athlete, and he and Hurts started to develop chemistry last season a little bit, and they will again. And it's funny because the Eagles for fantasy have been up and down for years.
Yeah.
But I think they've got it going on here. I think particularly the passing options.
I'll leave you with this because, it's the list time of year, Pro Football Focus list of the best offensive line. Philadelphia, number 1. You have a problem with that, or are you A-okay with that?
Wait, give me that again, Mike. I'm sorry. I didn't hear that.
Pro Football Focus had its rankings of the best offensive lines. They did it by tiers.
Yeah.
They were tier 1, number 1. The number 1 offensive line in football, Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, they've got maybe the best depth. They've got 10 legitimate players on the offensive line. Yeah, I would agree with that. I absolutely. They're top heavy. Like they got 7 or 8 guys who could start, but then they have some bench guys who are pretty good. See, I heard your show the other day. I didn't agree with the ranking of the Colts. In fact, the Colts are weak at left tackle. You know who might start at left tackle?
Yeah,
he's being paid $5 million a year, which is absurd. Yeah, Matt Pryor. They got to see if rookie Bernard Raymond is ready. He's more of a project, and that's why he dropped to the 3rd round. So, and they also have an issue at right guard. So, no, I don't agree. See, Eagles are the clear number 1. I don't think it's even close.
Cleveland was 2. Detroit was 3.
See, that was the one that shocked me. It was Detroit. I get it. Big V played much better last season because he was healthier. They have no depth at all. See, when I grade teams, Mike, I take everything in consideration, not just the 22 starters.
Yeah.
I look at depth. If someone got hurt, like for instance, the Eagles have a real issue at 3rd outside corner. If they got lucky last year, you and I have talked about this before. If they suffer an injury at outside corner, they're in major trouble.
By the way, today they did defensive line. Philadelphia, top 10, number 9.
They have a good D-line. In fact, the Eagles have pretty good depth. What they lack is a top-end pass rusher. Josh Sweat's an above-average to good pass rusher. We have a good note on Brandon Graham on yesterday's show, so I definitely want to listen to that. But they just don't have that top-end pass rusher. But when the Eagles play at 43, they're going to play a lot of 3-4, but when they play at 43 front, even if they run a 5-2, if Jordan Davis can help free up Fletcher Cox, maybe Fletcher Cox has a renaissance in this defense.
Yeah. By the way, they were tier 2, which is strong with a weak point or 2, and you just mentioned their weak point. They don't have that top-end pass rusher, and that's kind of what they indicated there, that they don't have that guy that is really the big guy. They like their run defense there. But there you go. Philadelphia, 9 on defensive line, number 1 on offensive line. And as we know, Adam, you win along the offense and defensive line. So going back to the beginning, we'll bring like a Seinfeld episode. We'll go back to the beginning of our conversation. It seems that take the over in those 8.5 wins if you can find them.
Oh, it's a 9.5 now, right? But I would take that. Yeah, the Eagles, to me, if everybody's healthy, are a 10-11 win team. The roster is better. Now, does it mean they'll be much better? No, they got to be coached up. Guys have to play to their potential. But the roster, as we talked about in yesterday's show, is so much better at this time than it was last year. It's not even close.
You can check out yesterday's show, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Inside the Birds. Check them out. Mondays and Thursdays is when that drops. And, of course, all of the shows on their platform, Inside the Birds. Adam Caplan's back on Friday's show. Adam, we'll talk to you then.
All right, man, thanks.
He makes it fun. He brings up some good topics there. Some of you fantasy football geeks out there getting ready for your drafts. Well, there's some ADP stuff for you as well. We'll do more list stuff, off-season stuff. We got Adam on Thursday doing football at 4. We got the previews of the AFC South. He's got all the division previews because Adam has just got an insane amount of depth on all the knowledge on all these teams